Watchers, thank you for joining us. I'm Joy.
And I'm Laura.
And this is The Witches of Letters, a supernatural rewatch podcast.
Buckle up as we dive into Season 5, Episode 6. I believe the children are our future.
I love this episode.
Ah.
It's one of the kind of like weird, quirky ones that I find really, really enjoyable.
Yeah.
And it's almost Monster of the Week, but not quite. But the Monster of the Week is the Damien child, the Antichrist child.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I thought it was really fun.
I actually feel bad for him. You know how I'm normally like, creepy kid alert.
Oh yeah, no, Jesse is so adorable, so I completely understand. I don't view Jesse as a villain.
No.
Like,
I
I say Monster of the Week like very lightheartedly.
Yeah. No, I thought it was going to be a creepy kid episode, and at one point it kind of was. There's the bit where he like is staring at them out the window, and that was very Damien-esque.
Yeah.
But I actually felt really sorry for him, and the performance from the actor was really good. Like, he really made me believe the character. And he was really he has that expressive face like Jensen can do, like where he was just doing a look and you kind of could feel his emotions, and I was like, oh, he's actually really sweet. He's not
you can
kid.
read every single thought on his face because he's such a great actor, and Jensen definitely has the same quality about his acting. I completely agree with you.
So yeah, I liked him.
Did you like the episode or just the kid?
Yeah, no, I did like the episode. I thought it was because like the first kind of third of it, or the first act, if you like, is like just funny, like one of their goofy, funny episodes.
Yeah,
with all the pranks and stuff, and then and a few murders thrown in, but, you know, and then
just a couple,
and then it got spooky and like demony. Yeah,
yeah. Good. No, I pretty much agree with that. It's very like Scooby-Doo. It's very very unserious to start out with, and people are dying, but they're dying in such ridiculous ways. It's kind of like the deaths and mystery spot. It's sort of like a little bit hard as a supernatural fan at this point in season 5 to take any deaths very seriously. It's like when Wally was guesting and he made that remark about like, oh, just a bunch of murdered dead nuns everywhere. And he was talking about how as a supernatural fan you get so like immune to violence and horror that it just doesn't really register the same way anymore. And I kind of feel like that about the deaths in this episode because they made them like, they tried to make them comical, and I feel like they succeeded personally. We got some good gore. We got some silly stuff. We got some great jokes. So, yeah, I don't know. It's like slapstick at first. And then it's like, he's one of the X-Men. And then it's, uh-oh, what happened? What are we going to do now?
Yeah, because he's disappeared now. So it's like, I'm guessing he comes back at some point, but
I don't think we ever hear from this kid again.
Oh,
admittedly, now listen, admittedly, hear me out. I have memory problems, so I could theoretically Google this, but like off the top of my head, I don't think we ever hear from this child again.
Oh, I was like, he's got to come back because they've left it open. Like they've literally said he's the Antichrist. Like he must be part of this storyline. Well, apparently not.
I'm just gonna like real quickly look it up to make sure that I'm not talking absolute trash from my concussions and brain damage and stuff.
Oh yeah, he's in the next episode.
let me just check.
I've already looked it up. He's in one.
Oh,
I just wrote how many episodes of Supernatural is Jesse in, and it came out with 1.
Yeah, so he's only in this episode then.
Yeah.
So the writers just forgot about him, is what I'm thinking.
That's such a important. Well, I thought it was at the end. I was like, that's an important part.
There's this definitely makes 2 characters. Okay, one that I can't discuss because it's spoilers, and this one who are like have a lot to do with the storyline. You would think, right? And then you just never hear from them again. Oh. Those people are away. This is wild. Okay, well now we know. That got pretty unserious. So I'm going to also give an unserious podcast update, and then I'm just going to go into my preamble. Okay. So my update is that I made a post a minute ago that had memes in it, which included Mark Pellegrino. And like the whole thing was like about Lucifer in the episodes. It was all Lucifer memes. And then I kept getting comments about Mark that made me go, what is going on? Because I was really confused. I've only ever seen, as far as like social media stuff, I've only ever seen the pictures of him with happy fans, people talking about how he was super nice to them at conventions and stuff. And then I've seen the whole like consent t-shirt thing where he was like wearing that t-shirt that said, if Lucifer has to ask for consent, then so do you. And I thought that was great. And then I was like, these comments are like leading me to believe that there's more going on here. And I was like, oh no. So I went and I looked stuff up, and I was like, oh no. I'm not going to hate on him. I'm not going to say anything super negative here. But when you detect a shift in tone on the podcast, it's because we did some reading and we went, uh-oh. Now that we know what we know about Mark's political views and stance on things, I think we're probably going to stay with just character analysis, and just like look at Lucifer as the character. So when we go through season 5 and the tone is changed, we thought we should explain to you guys, like, we just had no idea. Now that we do know, obviously our thoughts and feelings are different because now we have all the information. So on a more lighthearted note, changing the topic, I want to thank everyone who responded to my ask that we help Anywhere But There Fangirl reach 100 followers, because she reached 100 followers like literally that day, I think. We love her so much and we're really, really excited for her. So congratulations, Anywhere But Here Fangirl. We can't wait to have her on the podcast. She is going to be guesting on an upcoming episode.
Yay.
And I'm super, super happy about that.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
Yeah. Then I wrote in and I asked people to tell me, like, what is your favorite silly supernatural line? Mine is, if there's a lock, there must also be a key. And you guys wrote in and it was so much fun. So it's Crimson Sonata wrote that Fight the Fairies is her favorite. And I love Fight the Fairies. It's iconic. Then Vi, who's SPN Swifty, wrote, didn't track in any mud, just wanted her belly scratched. I figured maybe she could stay tonight and we try to find her a home tomorrow. And I was like, oh, that one's so sweet. I love it so much. Spirits and Supernatural says this one gets me and is barely ever mentioned. Dean, what's the word, Cass? Castiel says, it's a shortened version of my name. And that is hilarious. Also, prank wars are back. If you missed our episode on Hell House, we decided that, like Sam and Dean, we were going to prank each other. We do accept audience participation, so to prank Laura, DM the Instagram account with haunted dolls, except the R doll. That's banned. Creepy kid stories.
And the P doll.
Such as black-eyed children. Kids saying they see ghosts, etc. You know what I mean? Like the spooky kid stories. Clowns are also great and acceptable. To prank Joy right into the podcast email with the forbidden bug lore. Haunted hospitals and ambulances also really get me, like really hardcore. And haunted asylums, like anything that's like medical or medical adjacent. And Laura literally just pranked me again, if you missed it, in the out of context quotes, because I had to say the word cockroach because it was in the dialogue.
And I found that hilarious.
She put a picture of the forbidden bug in our out of context quotes, which means that every time I look at the post, I have to see that stupid ass bug. It's very upsetting.
And I put it on Dean's shoulder. I put it on a Dean post just for you.
Why are you like this? Jesus.
I just want to point out that the reason I did it is because you showed me a horrible doll trophy that very episode. So I was like, I'm going to get you back in the out of context quotes. And also, it's been going on since the episode Bugs, not Hell House.
Well, I'm just saying, like, it stems from Hell House because Sam and Dean have a prank war in Hell House. We started it in Bugs because she started it with the cockroaches. Again, so yeah, the phobias are real. Laura's are definitely clowns, the creepy children, the haunted dolls, and any creepy dolls. Just even a picture of a creepy doll and she's done.
Even that waxwork episode we just watched.
She really struggled with that. And for me, it's basically the forbidden bug. I don't like zombies, but I don't think that like zombie stories would really get me. Like if it's something like The Last of Us, where it's like a science fact, where it's like this blah 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 mushroom is going to take over and blah 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 zombies, then I will be really terrified and done
That was a
with
really good
life
synopsis
forever,
of The
probably.
Last of Us.
Like anything where cordyceps is involved, I'm out. I'm done. I'm gone. That shit terrifies me. But yeah, like places where people die a lot or where it's just like lots of tragedies, like hospitals, give me the ick so hard. I fucking hate going to the hospital. I would do anything that I can to avoid going to the hospital. Okay, I don't like it. I hate A&E. It's the worst place ever. It is hell on earth.
Yeah, I
No
agree with you
offense,
on that,
nurses and
actually.
doctors. Thank you for what you're doing, but it's just the worst place. And you guys will agree with me because you're there all the time. So you know.
Yeah.
Like last time I had to go to urgent care, not A&E, thank God. I went to urgent care and I was sitting there with Nick and it was like 2 in the morning. And this place was definitely haunted because like the waiting area doors just opened. Like someone like it has a motion detector and there was no one there. There was
Ew.
no bugs. There was no moth, nothing. But they just opened like someone walked in. And then about 20 or 30 minutes later, as if they'd had an appointment, they walked out. And I'm like, oh my God, that dead person just had a doctor's appointment. What the fuck? It was crazy. So yeah, that's how to prank me. That's how to prank Laura. I
Please
have put
don't.
this on the out of context posts that I put up today. I don't know if anybody's replied to that yet. I'm gonna have to have a look and see if anybody's DM me any creepy dolls. But yeah, on the podcast page it's me, and on the emails it's Laura. Also on threads it's Laura. So you could also theoretically send her stuff about stuff to creep me out with on threads. That could be entertaining. Um, she might not ever see it because she borderline never goes on threads.
I
But
was gonna say you might not actually ever see it if you put it on threads, but yeah. No, I'm
yeah,
trying to get better at checking threads.
yeah. But that's the end of my preamble ramble. Basically,
Don't
you
prank us.
know, well, do prank us because Prank Wars is back on. And I feel like audience participation is really fun. Like I've already had a couple of people send me like scary haunted doll stories to get Laura with, and that was so much fun. And then I thought this is really uneven. If people can only send me stuff, then it's all tilted in my favor and not fair on Laura. Not that I feel like she needs any help, but
You're the one that keeps restarting it.
you love Prank Wars. Or you wouldn't keep being like gloating over the bleh bugs, you know? So yeah, go ahead and reach out to Laura if you want to help her in this war against me. I know Laura definitely has some diehard fans, so I feel like it's almost like what what's a good team one? Like Ross and Rachel, like Team Ross, Team Rachel. It's almost like that. People can pick sides if they want to, and we'll have prank wars.
Should I do the synopsis?
Yes.
And then we can start. So, this is season 5, episode 6. I believe the children are our future. The original air date for this episode was October 15th, 2009. Sam and Dean investigate a series of deaths and strange happenings that resemble urban legends or lies that kids believe. After some investigation, they find a young boy called Jesse who possesses the power to make his thoughts reality, and they discover that he was adopted as a baby and track down his biological mother. She tells them that she was possessed by a demon the entire time she was pregnant, and that's why she put him up for adoption. Castiel then comes to see them and tells them that Jesse is the Antichrist, and they have to kill him, as he's a serious threat. Sam and Dean don't want to kill him, but they think they can get him to choose good if they speak to him. However, Julia, his biological mother, gets possessed by a demon again, and the demon goes after Jesse. Sam and Dean fight the demon, but it is Jesse who saves the day with his powers. Sam and Dean convince Jesse to come with them so they can take him to Bobby to get him trained to fight, but after agreeing, he disappears, presumably to Australia, and we never see him again, apparently.
Never ever again. The writers were like, nope, don't know what to do with that one.
Oh.
I think they made him too powerful because, like, when I think about like all the characters that we see in Supernatural, I don't think anybody is that powerful.
No, he was,
Like,
yeah.
we fucked up.
He was really powerful. I have that in my notes. Like, what? I was like, whoa. Sam had to drink loads of blood to do that.
Yeah. Well, if you think about how powerful the angels are, especially in the earlier seasons, the idea that there's a being that can destroy all the angels with like a word.
Yeah.
That's like Scarlet Witch levels of powerful. And that's, what do you do with that? You can't go on from there. You can't escalate from that. So,
and he's just like thinking stuff and it's happening, and he doesn't even know he's doing it. So if he gets to the point where he can control it, he's going to be even more powerful.
Yeah. So exactly. I think they were like, we wrote ourselves into a paper bag, and then they were like, we're just gonna put this away, never mention it again, and they're gonna forget about it. So yeah. So my first note says, why is she almost inside the TV? Because this girl was trying to climb inside that TV. She was like less than a foot away from the front of that television.
She's like a reverse Samara.
I was thinking that, 'cause she's like dark haired, brushing her hair, almost going inside the TV. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why she was sitting that close. It was kind of like, it reminded me of The Ring as I was watching it, and also Poltergeist.
Yeah. That makes perfect sense to me.
So a young woman called Amber, who's a babysitter, brushes her hair while watching television. That's also weird. Like, she was brushing her hair and sitting really close to television, like you say.
It was a weird combo.
Yeah, and it's just obviously they had to have her brushing her hair because what happens later. But it was weird. She hears a thumping noise and gets up to investigate, and she calls out Jimmy and reaches for the closet door to open it. And we're expecting a jump scare because the score in the background is like classic spooky movie type music. And as she slides the door open, we see a boy who looks dead with blood down his face and an arrow through his head. And she sighs and tells him she told him to go to bed. Jimmy says he can't because he's dead. That made me laugh. It turns out he's used ketchup for blood, and the arrow is on a headband, so it looks like it's going through his head, but it isn't really. And he says that she's mean, but Amber's having none of it, and tells him to go to bed again. He then gets gross and says he'll go to bed if she lets him touch her boob.
My note literally says this kid is gross.
Yeah, ew, gross, pervy kid is what I wrote. She tells him to go and pushes him up the stairs, and he goes. She sits down to watch TV again. She hears a dog barking outside and pauses the TV to look outside. We then cut to a little later, and there's static on the TV. Jimmy's parents come home. The husband tells his wife he'll take Amber home and not to wait up. He goes over to the sofa where it looks like Amber is asleep, but she's dead. Uh-oh.
Yeah, I wrote, wait, is she dead? Then I wrote, ah ha 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 ha, the doll. Which I don't remember what that was about anymore. And then I wrote,
I don't know
Francine! Because him like so screeching to his wife is so funny. Yeah. I was like,
what's Francine gonna do about it? Call the police.
It was like, this feels like a problem for my wife.
Like, come and help me, wife.
Francine.
Oh dear. He just told her to go to bed, and now he's like, wait, I need your help.
Come back, please.
I don't know what to do. Call the police.
Babysitter. Yeah. Wild.
Okay, so then Sam and Dean go to the morgue, posing as FBI agents, and they're Plant and Page again. They've been Plant and Page before, haven't they?
Yeah.
We love a Led Zeppelin reference.
We do.
They use. I feel like they use Led Zeppelin more often than anyone else.
I think so.
And they ask to see Amber's body. Dean says they heard something clawed through her skull. The coroner asks if they read the autopsy report he sent out that morning, and Sam, thinking on his feet, says that they had server issues. That was funny because Dean looks at him like,
yeah.
Nice one. The coroner leads them to her body and says that when she first came in, they thought she was attacked by a wolf or something, but they were wrong. And he holds up an evidence bag containing a press-on nail and says that this was found in her temporal lobe, and he says she scratched her brain out. Ew. He says it must have been some sort of phantom itch. And I like how at the end of this scene, after the doctor was talking about itching, Dean was then scratching his ear, and I think Sam scratched something as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a really well-known psychological phenomenon. And it's worse for me because I have eczema. So I wrote Phantom Age of Horror. God damn it, now I'm itchy.
Yeah. Ugh. Well, I'm itchy.
We gotta talk about something else.
Yeah, that's horrible.
So they keep investigating, and we cut to Jimmy's house. Sam is sitting in the armchair in the living room, and Jimmy's father and Francine, we know her name because he screamed it, are sitting on the sofa, and Dean's kind of wandering around in the background. And Sam says, all right, some of these questions might seem a bit odd, but please just bear with me. Have you noticed any cold spots in the house? And Jimmy's father was like, no. And Sam says, what about strange smells? And Dean looks around the corner and finds Jimmy. And Jimmy says, what are you looking for? And I don't know exactly what was on his t-shirt, but it gave me the ick.
I didn't see. What was on it?
It was something like, it was like a weird, gross allusion to something gross, and I was like, he's a child. That shouldn't be on a child. I don't know. It's just, bleh. It gave me
I
the
didn't even
bleh.
notice that.
I couldn't quite make it all the way out, but from what I could see, I was like, no, that's offensive to me. Gross.
Well, I mean, it kind of tracks with Jimmy, I guess.
It does really track with Jimmy.
He's looking hellish. He's looking hella shifty as well when Dean's talking to him.
Yeah. Dean says, I don't know yet. And he says, it's Jimmy, right? And Jimmy nods. And Dean says, so Amber was your babysitter? And he says, yes, sir. I was like, yeah, pretend to have manners. And Dean says, yeah, most of my babysitters sucked. And Dean says, especially Mrs. Chansey, she only cared about two things, dynasty and bedtime. And Dean kind of laughs. And he asks the kid if he saw anything strange, and he says no. And then the kid,
a little bit too
like,
quickly.
he keeps going on. He's like, I would tell you if I know anything. And Dean's like, whatever. And then he kind of gets in really close, and he says, well, I know you're lying. And Jimmy's like, I'm not. And he says, we're going to start talking truth, or are we going to take a little trip downtown? So he just keeps applying more and more pressure.
Under pressure.
Yes, thank you, Laura, for the musical. So Dean and Sam are leaving. Dean holds up a packet of itching powder. Dean says, kid said he put this on the babysitter's hairbrush. And Sam's like, Dean, there's no way. And Sam says itching powder made that girl scratch her brains out. It's just ground up maple seeds. And I had to go and look it up because I was like, no, it's not. I've never heard of it. Because I've always heard it's like rosehip seeds, which is true. But it turns out there's like a couple of different things that they use to make it. So one of them is from this very specific kind of maple that grows this irritant hair over the whole thing. So he's right. Like it's the hairy bits that cover the maple seed on this one kind of maple. Or rose hips, or there was a kind of bing as well. I don't remember what it said, but I was being really annoyed that Sam was actually right with his plant fact. I was so sure he was wrong, and then he was right.
He knows his seeds, Joy. We learned this in the last episode or the one before.
Yeah. So Dean says, if you have any other theories, I'm open to them. And then a cell phone rings, and Sam pulls his out and answers it. Dean opens the Impala's driver's side door. Sam says, yeah, we'll be right there. Goes around behind the car. Dean gets in the car and closes the door. And then they drive off, presumably. We just don't see it.
Yeah. And it must have been the doctor again, because they're at the hospital then, aren't they? And his body is being zipped into a body bag. They ask what happened, and the doctor said the guy was electrocuted. And Dean asks how. The doctor isn't sure, as they haven't found any reason why. Sam asks if there's witnesses. The doctor nods to an old man sitting in a chair, but says he isn't making any sense, as he's senile. Sam and Dean speak to the man. He's saying it was just a joke, and he didn't know it would really work. He says all he did was shake his hand, and shows that he's holding a joy buzzer, which, fun fact, I didn't know the name for that at all.
Neither did I.
No, it's named after you.
It's got my name all over it. I'm electrifying.
And Dean and Sam look confused.
I just wrote trickster vibes, 10 out of 10. At this point, I was really like, it's the trickster. It's going to be the trickster.
Yeah. Oh, this next scene is hilarious with the ham.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite things ever.
So we then cut to the motel, and Dean is putting goggles on and protective gloves, and he's going to test the joy buzzer on a raw ham. He touches the ham and it cooks it. And Dean says, that'll do, pig, which is babe, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, babe. Yeah.
And sounds like, what the hell? Looking really shocked. And they theorize cursed objects, maybe a witch. And I was like, practical jokes going wrong? ? With my initial watch. Dean starts then cutting slices of ham off and eating it. And he asks if there's any links between the joy buzzer and the itching powder, and Sam says they came from the same store.
Yeah. So what I think is hilarious about this, what I thought was cool, was I found a little fun fact for you, because their outfits are amazing. Firstly, can I just say, like, Dean is in full electrical protection grade rubber gloves up to his elbows, and there's these goggles. I don't know, they're like almost like welding goggles. They're very extreme. Sam is behind him, puts the goggles down, and they look so serious. It's so fun. And Dean says, "You ready?" And Sam says, "Hit it, Mr. Wizard." And I was like, why does this sound so familiar to me? What is that? So I went and I looked it up, and what I found out was Mr. Wizard refers to Don Herbert, the creator and host of the influential educational television show Watch Mr. Wizard, which ran from 1951 to 1965, and then Mr. Wizard's World, which ran from 1983 to 1990. He performed simple science experiments with children to teach concepts, inspiring future scientists and popularizing educational TV. Key facts about the show. It's so cool.
I think we had that here.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I've definitely seen it in reruns, maybe when we had an old black and white TV when I was a kid. And it definitely ran in the 90s, the early 90s. So I might even have seen that run. I'm not sure. I think I maybe saw a mix of both because I was like, this sounds so familiar. What is this? So the original show, Watch Mr. Wizard, aired on NBC, featuring live science experiments and a child assistant. The impact was big. The show was so successful with 50,000 Mr. Wizard science clubs by 1965. As far as legacy goes, Don Herbert is widely considered a pioneer in science education for children, preceding later shows like Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Yeah, I was thinking it was that kind of vibe.
Yeah. And I thought that was so cool. And then my other thoughts were, that'll do, pig. I laughed out loud because I loved that movie when I was a kid, and I'm always like going around going, that'll do, or I'll be like, that'll do, pig, that'll do. Then I wrote, Tina eats the ham because of course he does. I love Sam's face where Sam is like, ew, why?
You want some electrocuted ham?
Yeah. Tina's just like, it's delicious. You can see on his face, he's like, it's like a silent conversation that they have. Yeah. Sam is like, why are you doing this? And Sam is like, ham. And also sorry, Dean's like, ham.
Yeah, and he's like, well, we might as well not waste it.
Yeah. He hates to waste food, which like I get. But yeah, no, it's so funny. So we cut to the Conjurarium, which is a magic shop during the daytime. Sam and Dean walk in. It is. The door chimes and someone laughs and the door chimes again.
Oh yeah, the laugh. Did you recognize that laugh?
No.
So I found this fun fact that says, when Dean and Sam walk into the magic store, you hear a bell chime and a cackle laugh. The laugh is the same as Billy the Puppet from the Saw movie series.
Oh, I hate those movies.
Yeah, I don't like really the puppet either. But I thought that was cool. And it's links to like creepy dolls.
Yeah, that is cool. Definitely. I like fell asleep. It's the only horror movie I've ever fallen asleep. I was watching the first one and I was just went, this is so stupid. And then I fell asleep out of rage. It's the only time I've ever slept in the cinema.
I think I only watched the first. I think I probably watched the first 3 actually. Which ones had Luke from Gilmore Girls in? That was 2 and 3, wasn't it?
I don't know. As I said, did make it through number 1.
I think I watched the first 3 and then I randomly watched 10 with my sister-in-law because she was like, do you want to watch Saw? And I was like, you want to watch Saw? Okay. And then we watched that. But that was good.
Yeah, nice.
It was right actually, that one.
A lot of people really liked them. I just didn't. And I remember like my predominant memory of Saw, which doesn't really have anything to do with it exactly, was I was working in a bar. And at the bar, every year for Easter, our boss would buy us the big, expensive Easter eggs that would be like stuffed with smaller Easter eggs. It was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd always be finishing my shift at like 2 or 3 in the morning, ready to go home. I kept asking one of the taller dudes to get the Easter egg down for me so I could take it home with me. And then I would literally forget. And I would walk out. And after the 6th time of me doing this, he drew, he's an artist. Now he's a professional tattoo artist, actually. He drew a perfect, like, cartoon, but, like, true to life, like, hyper realistic of the little Saw puppet doll guy with a sign attached to it that says, Joy, do you want to play a game? Taped to the fucking Easter egg, taped to, like, the ceiling. And I died laughing. And that is the best prank that anyone has ever played on me. And I was like, that is so well deserved. I completely deserved that. And that's amazing. My hat is off to you.
That sounds good.
So Dean goes, Sam, really excited because he's found a whoopee cushion. And he holds it up and he's like grinning from ear to ear. And Sam sighs and shakes his head, turning away. Dean brings the whoopee cushion up to the checkout counter, which has a display of rubber chickens next to it. The owner comes out from the back room. And he says, welcome to the Conjurarium, sanctum of magic and mystery. He's got like weird magic kid vibes to him, you know? Not in a mean way, just oddball character kind of a way. And Sam says, you the owner? And the owner says, yep. And Dean says, you sold any itching powder or joy buzzers lately? And the owner says, yeah, a grand total of one each. They aren't exactly big ticket items. Like, you boys here to buy something or what? So Dean pulls like $1 out and holds up the fart thing that he's going to buy and pays for it, and then looks so happy with himself and puts it away in his pocket for later.
It's funny.
And Sam asks if he gets many customers, and the owner says kids come in, they don't buy much. They're more than happy to break stuff. These days, all they care about is their iPhones and those kissing vampire movies. The whole thing makes me just... And Dean says angry, and my notes say the Twilight joke.
Oh.
She was like, I laughed so hard when he said kissing vampire movies. He's so mad. And then he says, yeah, I'm angry. This shop has been in my life for 20 years and now it's wasting away to nothing. And Dean says, which is why you hate them. And the owner's like, yeah, I suppose. And Dean says, you wish there was something you could do about it. And the owner's like, yeah, I guess I do. And Dean says, so you're taking revenge. And then he pulls a rubber chicken off of the display counter, slaps it down, and then he says, with this, dramatically, and then he stabs it with the joy buzzer, which obviously electrocutes the shit out of it. The owner screaming, oh no, goes backwards. And then we just see Sam and Dean's reaction, but I'm pretty sure he pissed himself or something. Like, you can tell that he's in a terrible state because Sam and Dean look super fucking guilty at each other. Like, I think, I wrote in my notes, they broke this man's brain. And Sam says, something tells me this guy is not a powerful witch. And Dean goes, sorry.
Yeah, that was funny. They're basically just kind of like, well, I don't know what they've done. Have they threatened him? Sort of. He might have seen it that way.
Yeah. They gave him a shock, if nothing else.
Yeah. So then we cut to another house, and a man is putting his daughter to bed and telling her about the tooth fairy. And this this little girl's reaction is hilarious and quite frankly accurate. I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
If you got what does she say? I've forgotten.
She says, so some freak is going to come in my room while I'm sleeping and take my tooth. Sounds scary. No, thank you. Which made me laugh so hard because that was also my initial reaction. And my mom had to really go ham with the fairy tale stuff to make me be okay with the idea of this. But like, I was just like, that's so legit. That's so legit.
Why so many like things we tell kids to do with like breaking and entering? Like Santa, Tooth Fairy. They're all just like, yeah, when you're asleep, creepy people are going to come into the house and like leave you things, take parts of your body, leave you some money. That's so weird.
I don't know. Old school. What are you going to do?
Yeah, but anyway, I thought I liked this little girl.
Yeah, she's great. She's really, really, really funny.
Yeah. So the dad then puts the teeth under her pillow and leaves, and later she sneaks into her dad's room and puts it under his pillow instead.
I wrote, nice. She said, keep your weird rituals to yourself, Dad. I bet he gets all his teeth ripped out, which, fun fact, he does.
Yeah. She's like, you have the weird person come in the house and
to get your teeth.
Get things out under your pillow, yeah. We then see a shadow go past his window, and then a hand covers his mouth. He startles awake, and then there's a man standing there wearing a pink tutu and sparkly wings, and it is the Tooth Fairy. And the Tooth Fairy is like, shh, hold still, you might feel just a little pinch. And then he gets this massive pair of pliers out and pulls all his teeth out, basically.
Yeah. So basically, this man has the build of like a WWE wrestler while wearing like a pink tutu and some fairy wings. And it is terrifying and hilarious. Okay.
Yeah.
And I wrote, wait, I know this fairy. oh my god, he's mailroom thug and elf. I'm so happy. And then I looked him up and I wrote also he's in every movie ever, to be honest. Great actor. His name is Mark Atchison.
Ah, he did look kind of familiar. I didn't look him up.
Yeah. He's in loads of different stuff, but I know the one that is seared into my mind because I watch Elf all the time is he's the dude in the mailroom who like gets the elf, he gets Buddy drunk and then they become best friends and then they're talking about all this stuff and he's this big scary dude at first and then he turns out to be like just a chill guy.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So we cut again and they're at the hospital and the girl's father is lying in a hospital bed. A nurse offers him a glass with a straw. He waves it away. Sam is in the room with a notebook and pen. He leaves. Dean is in the corridor talking to another nurse whose name is Jen.
He's chatting her up.
He is chatting her up. So Dean says, well, I appreciate that, Nurse Fremont. And she says, please call me Jen. And he says, oh, Jen it is. So she smiles at him and leaves. And Sam clears his throat and Dean turns to him and he kind of collapses and he says, what's up with Toothless? Cavity creeps get a hold of him?
And what's Sam up with Toothless? Yeah. Made me laugh.
Yeah. Sam says, yeah, close. He wrote up a description and then he shows him the notebook and he says 5'10", 350 pounds, wings, and a pink tutu. Said it was the Tooth Fairy. And Dean says, so obviously he's whacked out on painkillers. And Sam says maybe whatever it was got past locked doors and windows without triggering the alarm. And Dean's like, come on, Tooth Fairy? And Sam says, and it left 32 quarters underneath his pillow, one for each tooth. Fun fact about me, I have hardly any teeth, actually. It looks like I have all my teeth, but they took most of my teeth away because my jaw is not big enough, just saying. Every time I go to a dentist, they count things up and they're like shocked. Shocked like, and terrified.
Something's not adding up here.
She has like 10 teeth. Yeah.
At least the Tooth Fairy gave him some money when he took all his teeth.
I didn't get any money for my teeth. They just took them. Still mad about that. So Dean says, well, I'll see you're crazy and raise you some. There's a couple of kids upstairs with stomach ulcers. Say they got it from mixing Pop Rocks and Coke. Another guy, his face froze that way. And Sam says, that way? Dean looks around in every direction, then pulls the sides of his mouth really wide and crosses his eyes. It looks crazy. He says he held it too long and it's stuck. They're flying in a plastic surgeon. And then he's kind of like poking his face around to just make sure that it's not stuck and also because he like really overstretched himself. Sam says, so I mean if you add all that up. And then he kind of hesitates. And then Sam goes, I got nothing. And then they start walking down the hallway and Dean says, I thought sea monkeys were real. And Sam says, they are. They're brine shrimp. And Dean says, no. I mean, like in ads, you know, like the sea monkey wife cooks the pot roast for the sea monkey husband and the sea monkey kids play with the dog and a sea monkey castle real. I mean, I was 6, but I believed in it. And Sam's like, okay. And Dean says, point is, maybe that's the connection. I do not remember
this advert, by the way.
I do.
I was like, I don't know if we had this advert here or I've just forgotten it. We definitely had sea monkeys. I'm assuming there was an ad.
I remember one time I was at one of my friend's house and her kid had sea monkeys, the brine shrimp, and she thought that they were like the best thing ever in the whole world. And she's like very emotionally attached to them and she had them in a little aquarium and she kept them going for like a super long time. And I mean, very little. And the guy that I was dating at the time was really drunk and drank them as a joke, not realizing that they were her beloved pets.
Why would you drink
so much? He's a wild card.
So he didn't even drink it by accident. He drank them on purpose.
He was drunk and he was like, haha, this is going to be so funny when I drink these shrimp. And my friend was like, those are my daughter's pets. She's going to be so upset. And he was like, oh no. And then he was immediately like, absolute remorse.
No. What an idiot. No offense.
That's fair. That was a wild thing to do. But anytime anyone brings up sea monkeys, all I can think of is this guy getting really drunk and just drinking brine shrimp.
I can imagine how that's a cool memory. That would be what everything. That's probably what I'm going to think about now.
You're welcome. Now everyone knows that story. So Dean says maybe that's the connection. The tooth fairy, the pop rocks and coke, the joy buzzer that shocks you, they're all lies that kids believe. And Sam says, and now they're coming true. Okay, so whatever's doing this is reshaping reality. It has the powers of a god or a trickster. And he looks really mad and he like rolls his eyes about it. And Dean says, yeah, with a sense of humor of a 9-year-old. And Sam says, or you. And then he walks off.
That was funny.
It was so funny. I loved it so much. That was a burn because it was very real.
Yeah. It's definitely Dean. I can imagine that being Dean.
I can imagine Dean drinking some sea monkeys and thinking that it's funny.
Yeah. I can definitely imagine him doing it by accident. And then being like, oh, that wasn't water, that was sea monkeys. Ew. So then we cut back to the motel and Dean is eating a ham sandwich. And Sam comes back and he's like, seriously, with the ham? And he's like, well, we don't have a fridge, which is a fair point. He doesn't want to waste it.
I wrote, Dean is going to eat this entire dead electrified pig by himself, one ham sandwich at a time.
Yeah. Sam could help, quite frankly, to,
Yeah. He's just horrified by the idea of how
it wasn't cooked properly.
And then I don't know how long it's been left out at room temperature either.
Oh yeah, actually, yeah, no, that's when he first started eating it. That's fine.
Yeah.
So anyway, Sam gets the map out and shows Dean, and he says he found out that all of the cases they know about so far are within a 2-mile radius. In the centre of all these cases is 4 acres of farmland and a house. Dean then asks if their motel is within that circle, and Sam confirms and asks why. And then, this is gross. Dean holds up a hand, which now has his hair growing out of the palm. And I wrote, Dean has a hairy hand from wanking.
I just wrote, ew.
No, it's disgusting.
With like 20 W's. It's enough W's that it takes up like the entire page and then another line of the whole page.
Yeah, that was disgusting. We didn't need that bit, I don't think.
Yeah, I feel like that was unnecessary.
Yeah. So I was like, you can go blind from that too, which I thought was funny.
Yeah.
Dean says to give him 5 minutes and they'll go check out the house. And then as he walks off, Sam shouts after him not to use his razor, and Dean smiles because he's totally going to use Sam's razor.
100%. Like, as soon as he said it, it was going to happen. If he wouldn't have said anything, it might have been okay. But the second he's like, don't use mine, Dean was like,
yeah. I don't feel like we needed that scene. Anyway.
No, I agree with you. I don't think it was really necessary. I think they really wanted to make that joke, and they were like, what would be funny is if we do it to Dean.
But yeah.
Well.
So they then go to the farmhouse and they get out of the car. They're in their suits again. Sam starts to pick the lock, but then a young boy opens the door.
Jesse says, can I help you? And Sam says, hi, what's your name? And he says, who wants to know? And Dean says, and then he pulls out the badge and he says, the FBI. And Sam holds up his badge and Jesse says, let me see that. And he examines it. And he says, so what, you guys don't knock? And Dean says, are your parents home? And Jesse says, they work. And Sam says, well, you mind if we ask you a few questions, maybe look around the house? And Jesse's like, I don't know. And Dean says, come on, you can trust us. We're the authorities, which is funny as a watcher because, they're not actually the authorities. And he holds up his badge again. And Jesse's really unimpressed. And he looks between the two of them and they try to kind of like smile reassuringly. And then we cut into the kitchen because he's decided to let them in. Classic latchkey kid style. He's making soup on the stove. Okay. And I wrote in my notes that this kid is like 8 going on 40. And I wrote, like all latchkey kids. My youth.
Yeah. I wrote that he reminded me of Dean and Sam as well, because they had to fend for themselves when John like fucked off and left them for hunting trips.
Yeah. So Sam looks at the soup and says, what's that? And Jesse says, it's called soup. And he takes the pot off the stove and then he says, you heat it up and you eat it. And Sam kind of laughs. And he's like, right, I know. I used to make my own dinner too when I was a kid. And I was like, nah, bro, Dean made your dinner.
Yeah,
you made your dinner one time. One time. So Jesse says, well, I'm not a kid. And then Dean notices artwork on the fridge. And Sam says, right, no, I know. And then he says, I'm Robert, by the way. I was like, Robert Plant. So Jesse says Jesse and shakes his hand. Again, like Jesse is like 40. He says, Jesse, nice to meet you. And Dean steps up and he holds a picture of what is definitely the tooth fairy that we saw earlier and says, did you draw this? And Jesse nods. And he says, it's the tooth fairy. And Dean's like, that's what you think the tooth fairy looks like, huh? And Dean says, yeah, my dad told me about him. So Dean looks at Sam and goes, huh? And Jesse says, what didn't your dad tell you about the tooth fairy? And Dean's like, my dad? And then he laughs and he says, my dad told me different stories. And Jesse says, well, the tooth fairy isn't a story. And then he says, what do you know about itching powder, Jesse? And Jesse says, that stuff will make you scratch your brains out. And Dean says, Pop Rocks and Coke. And Jesse says, you mix them and you end up in the hospital. Everyone knows that. And then he pulls the joy buzzer out of his pocket and holds it up. And Jesse says, you shouldn't have that. And Dean says, why not? And Jesse says, it can electrocute you. And Dean says, this part is where it gets really funny. Dean says, actually, it can't. It's just a wind-up toy. It's totally harmless. Doesn't even have batteries. And Jesse's like, so it can't shock you? And Dean says, nope, not at all, I swear. And Jesse goes, oh, okay. And then he says, I mean, all it does is kind of shake in your hand. It's kind of lame, see? And then he presses it to, like, basically Sam's heart.
Yeah.
Right? And then at the end, they walk out, and Sam goes, dude, what the hell? And Dean says, I had a hunch. I went with it. And Sam's like, you risked my ass on a hunch? And Dean's like, you're fine. And I was like, this was revenge. I was like, number one, he straight up electrocuted Sam. Sam was like, it obviously not cooked like the ham, but he clearly got like, whoo, or he was so terrified of it that he reacts like he's going to die, which is fair. Either way, it's hilarious. Okay. And I was like, this was revenge for when Sam guessed that evil truck couldn't go onto holy ground and told Dean that he made an educated guess. He was pretty sure. He was like, I had a hunch. And Dean's like, a hunch? And then later on, he's like, I'm going to murder this kid.
I made that exact note in my notes because I mean, it's to be fair, Sam has done this exact thing before in Route 666 when, Dean had to drive through the site of an old church when the ghost truck was chasing him and making it disappear. So, yeah. Payback.
Yeah, it is definitely payback. So Sam says, now we know who's turning this town into Willy Wonka's worst nightmare. And then he goes, the kid. And then Dean says, yeah, everything Jesse believes comes true. He thinks the tooth fairy looks like Belushi. Joy buzzers really shock people. Boom, that's what happens. And Sam's like, yeah, but convince him the joy buzzers don't actually work and they go from killing machines back into crap toys. And Dean says he probably doesn't even know he's doing it. So then they look up at the house and they see Jesse in a window watching them. And Dean waves. And Dean's like, how is he doing it?
This is the bit where it was totally like Damien in The Omen. Like looking out the window
definitely.
at them.
Just staring like.
Yeah.
You guys couldn't see what I was doing, but I was doing the creepy kid stare with the waving. Just so you know. Just so you have that visual in your head, you're welcome.
So then we cut to the motel and Dean is reading on the bed. Sam comes in and tells Dean what he's found out about Jesse, which isn't much, but he says that he was adopted. And there's no father listed on his file, but his biological mum is named Julia Wright, and she lives on the other side of the state. So then they go and see her, and I recognised her. She's been in lots of stuff as well, hasn't she? She was in *Handmaid's Tale*, and she's been in lots of other stuff though. But that's what I recognised her from originally. So
I knew she looked familiar, but I could not figure out what she was in. So thank you.
Yeah, she's Mrs. Putnam in *Handmaid's Tale*.
Yeah. Cool.
And this is funny because she thinks they're demons at first because they're there to ask about her demon son, and she throws salt at them and they're like, what the hell? And also Sam's really hot here when he gets salt thrown at him. I think it's his hair. Yeah, it's always his hair, usually.
When they go up to her door, she keeps the door shut. She has like 6 locks on it, and she demands that they put their FBI badges actually through the mail slot. And I wrote, she clearly watched true crime. I was like, Laura would be proud of her because that is what you should do.
Yeah. So yeah, she tells them that she was possessed the whole time that she was pregnant and it was a demon baby, but somehow while she was giving birth she was able to gain back control and was able to exercise it by, we see like a cutscene and it's her swallowing a whole load of salt, so the demon dusted out of her. And She said part
As
of
you
her
would say,
wants.
she waterboarded herself with salt.
Yeah, she did. She said part of her wanted to kill the baby, but she couldn't, so she put out for adoption instead. And Dean asks who the father was, and she says that she was a virgin, so an immaculate conception.
Mm-hmm.
And she asks about Jesse, and Dean tells her that his name, where he lives, and says that he's a good kid, and she looks relieved, and then they leave. But they shouldn't have told her where he lives because that is going to bite them in the arse in a minute.
Yeah, that's definitely Dean's mommy issues getting the better of him.
Oh, poor Dean and his
For
mommy
sure.
issues.
Yeah. And I was like, in my notes, I said demon lore has definitely changed because when Bobby broke free, that was huge. That had never been done before on the show, but it's kind of believable because it's Bobby. But with her, it's intense, crazy pain of giving birth, which does sound like the most painful thing ever. But then when you think about the fact that demons like jump off of buildings and stuff and they don't get yeeted out, I don't know.
Yeah.
But then I guess because she says she regained control enough to force feed herself salt effectively. But that's still kind of like, then why have none of I don't know. It feels a little bit like a plot hole.
I didn't really think about it. I was just like, okay. But yeah, now you've pointed it out.
Yeah. So we cut, and it is the inside of the motel that they're staying at night, which, by the way, I wrote down was like shabby chic, like, but not chic at all. It's just shabby Americana because there's like loads of really weird looking American flags, like abstract American flags. And there's like a random eagle later and even more American flags. And then it looks like just like it was painted white at one point, but then is now so old and distressed that the paint is gone in most places. And it's just kind of like giving us that America is the seat of the evil and that the Antichrist is definitely American kind of vibes. Like, feels kind of tongue in cheek, you know?
I in true form forgot to look at the motel, so I don't remember any of that.
If it's not the disco room, she doesn't want it. So, Cass is waiting for them in there. And Sam says, I take it you got our message. And he sits it down at the table, and Dean closes the door. And Cass says, it's lucky you found the boy. And Dean says, oh yeah, real lucky. What do we do with him? And Castiel says, kill him. And Sam just kind of freezes. He was untying his tie to get back into normal clothes probably, but he just like stops. And him and Dean just stare at Castiel, and Castiel stares back. And Dean's like, Cass. And Cass says, this child is half demon and half human, but it's far more powerful than either. Other cultures call this hybrid Cambion or Katako. You know him as the Antichrist. And then he sits at the table and there are wild fart noises. He moves position and it gets worse. And Dean's face is like a picture. And Castiel just turns around and is like, that wasn't me. And then he pulls out the whoopee cushion. And Dean says, who put that there?
That was actually really funny.
Really, really funny.
Especially because he's just being like, yeah, you gotta kill this kid, and then he sits on a whoopee cushion.
Murder the child. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Sam says, anyway, I don't get it. Jesse is the devil's son, and Cass sighs, and he's like, no, of course not. Your Bible gets more wrong than it does right. The Antichrist is not Lucifer's child. It's just demon spawn. But it is one of the devil's greatest weapons in the war against heaven. And so I looked it up, and yeah, they're not sticking to biblical lore, really. They're like, there's little bits of it, but mostly they're just cutting their own. And none of it was really that fascinating, so I just left it. That's what
Rejected.
I'm gonna tell you. Rejected. Boring lore. Dean says, well, if Jesse's a demonic howitzer, then what the hell is he doing in Nebraska? And Cass says the demons lost him. They can't find him, but they're looking. And Dean says, and they lost him because? And Castiel says, because of the child's power. It hides him from both angels and demons for now. And Dean says, so he's got like a force field around him? Well, that's great. Problem solved. And Cass says, with Lucifer risen, this child grows strong. Soon he will do more than just make a few toys come to life, something that will draw the demons to him. The demons will find this child. Lucifer will twist this boy to his purpose. And then, with a word, this child will destroy the host of heaven. And he goes, whoa, wait. You're saying that Jesse's going to nuke the angels? And Cass says, we cannot allow that to happen. And Sam says, wait. And he says, we're the good guys. We don't just kill children. And Cass turns on him and he says, "A year ago, you would have done whatever it took to win this war." And Sam says things change. And Dean kind of steps forward, puts a hand on Sam's arm, and puts himself between Sam and Castiel. And he says, "Okay, hey, look, we're not going to kill him, all right? But we can't leave Jesse here either. We know that. So we take him to Bobby's. He'll know what to do." And my show notes say Dean's answer when anytime like things are scary, it's like, "Bobby will know. Bobby will have the answers." So cute. Cass says, "You'll kidnap him?" What is going on in this town? It's what happens when this thing is happy. You cannot imagine what it will do if it's angry. Besides, how will you hold him with the thought he could be halfway around the world? And Dean says, and Sam says, "So we tell him the truth. You say Jesse's destined to go dark side, fine, but he hasn't yet. So if we lay it all out for him, what he is, the apocalypse, everything, he might make the right choice." And then there's this long pause, and Cass looks at him and says, "You didn't, and I can't take that chance." And I was like, damn, Castiel.
This whole argument, I called it an argument between Sam and Cass because they're basically arguing, was really hot.
I was just like, I felt really sorry for Sam. And I was like, Cass, bro, no.
Like, you didn't.
Yeah. And then Sam just says, "Damn it." And that's it. Yeah. That's the end of that scene.
That was a sick burn.
It was a sick burn. Somebody called the ambulance.
He says it with such venom as well. He's like, "You didn't."
Really, he doesn't usually have a lot of emotion, but when he says "you didn't," he is angry.
Yeah. And, kind of has a point, but, yeah, I did feel bad for Sam.
Yeah, he sort of has a point, but also Sam is reformed now. It's like, let it go.
He did also start the apocalypse, but, apparently we're letting that go.
Yeah, let it go. Move on. That's what I say. So we cut to Julia's house, and she's walking up to her door, unlocking all of her millions of locks, when a mailman walks up behind her, and she turns and she's startled, and she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And I was like, whoa. It is nighttime, okay? Anytime there is a mailman and it is nighttime on Supernatural, it's always a demon, okay? Every single time. And I was right. So he starts talking to her, and she says things were just a little shaky. And he says, "Well, talking to the Winchesters will do that to you." And then we realize it's the demon that she was possessed by before, and that demon forces itself into her mouth so that she's all possessed again. And that's it. She's all possessed.
What happened?
End of scene.
So then we go back to Jesse's house, and Cass arrives to kill him, but gets turned into a figurine.
I have a fun fact about that.
I called him a little Inspector Gadget action figure.
That's fair.
What was your fun fact?
So I went looking, trying to figure out what happened to the figurine, because it's a physical object. It has to exist somewhere on the Earth planet, right? Now, they're really sketchy about this, and there's a really funny story about it, because there's an article that I've attached that you guys can read if you want. But basically, while they were filming this, the actors laughed really hard with the Castiel action figure, like they could not stop playing with it. Ackles claims he did some fun things with the mini Misha, but, quote, "I'd probably get in trouble if I told you. So we'll just leave that one to the imagination," end quote.
What did they do? Do we want to know?
I don't know. Collins likewise wouldn't confirm or deny any plans on his part for absconding with one of the action figures. "I thought they would have given me one of them," Collins says. "There's a point of contention here between me and the props department." Perhaps with director Charles Beeson as well, since he made sure no one pocketed one of the unique toys. "Everyone tried to sneak off with them," Beeson said. "We had to have body searches every day to make sure the Castiel action figure never left the set." For his part, property master Chris Cooper really enjoyed crafting the toys. "We use a very talented local sculptor," he reveals. "The small knife was awesome, and getting the trench coat right was a big part of making that action figure look cool."
Yeah. I do think they should have given me one.
Yeah.
It was literally off him.
Yeah, right? Should have been allowed to have one.
I am intrigued to know what Jensen did with it.
Yeah.
But also I don't.
Yeah.
I had a question here, actually. because it was like a plot question. Did Cass put some sort of spell or something on the parents? Because in my initial notes near the end of this episode, I was like, how did they not wake up through any of this? Because they're just asleep upstairs.
Oh, yeah. So angels in the Bible can do this thing where they just put you to sleep and you don't wake up for anything. It's like this sleeping bell and this sleeping spell and sleeping beauty. Sentences
Okay.
are hard. Okay. They're hard. So yeah, so that makes perfect sense. And so basically, like, he's just enchanted them to stay asleep for a period of time, I'm guessing, and they'll just wake up whenever that's up.
Yeah. Well, I must have missed that the first time I watched it, but I picked up on it the second time. So Sam and Dean then turn up at the house and find the Cass figurine on the floor. And Dean puts it on the mantelpiece, and Jesse asks if he's their friend, and he's like, no. And Jesse asks how he did it, and Dean tells him that he's a superhero. And this bit is actually really cute.
It is so adorable. I wrote, Dean is so good with kids. A million heart eyes. So Dean says, yeah, I mean, who else could turn someone into a toy? You're Superman, minus the cape and the go-go boots. See, my partner and I, we work for a secret government agency. It's our jobs to find kids with special powers. In fact, we're here to take you to a hidden base in South Dakota where you'll be trained to fight evil. And before Jesse said, like, the X-Men, I was like, it's the X-Men!
Yeah. Also a bit like the boys, too. I liked the X-Men. That's good.
X-Men was great. So Jesse says, like the X-Men, and Dean says exactly like the X-Men. And I was like, Dean is amazing with children, and I love him. So then he laughs and he says, in fact, the guy we're taking you to, he's even in a wheelchair. You'll be a hero. You'll save lives. You'll get the girl. Sounds like fun, right? And then Dean is suddenly flung against a wall, and Demon Mom comes in. And she says, they're lying to you. And Sam stands up, but the demon flings him against the wall with Dean. And then Jesse stands up in surprise, basically. And the demon to Sam says, stay right there, Dreamboat. Can't hurt you. Orders. You, on the other hand, hurting you's encouraged, she says to Dean. And I was like, Dreamboat.
Poor Dean. Dreamboat.
And then she starts slamming Dean from wall to wall, like she's going to squash him like a bug. And Dean's like, no, And Jesse says, leave him alone. And the demon turns to Jesse and says, Jesse, you're beautiful. You have your father's eyes. And Jesse says, who are you? And the demon says, I'm your mother. And Jesse says, no, you're not. And she says, you're half human, half one of us. And Dean shouts, she means demons, Jesse. And then she uses the force on Dean until he's like strangulating. And the demon goes on to say that the people that Jesse thinks are his parents aren't his parents and that they lied to him. And Jesse says, my mom and dad love me. And the demon says, do they? Is that why they leave you alone all day? Because they love you so much? These people, these imposters, they told you that the tooth fairy was real and that your toys could hurt you and 100 other things that aren't true. They love you so much they made your whole life a lie. Look into your heart, Jesse. You've always known you weren't theirs. You've always known you were different. Everyone has lied to you. They're not FBI agents. You're not a superhero. And Jesse says, then what am I? And the demon says, you're powerful. You can have anything you want. You can do anything you want. And Dean says, don't listen to her, Jesse. And then she starts crushing Dean again because he talked. And she says, they treated you like a child. Nobody trusted you. Everybody's lied to you. Doesn't that make you angry? And then he clenches his fists and the whole room starts shaking and the fire just like explodes. And the demon says, see, it does make you angry, but I'm telling you the truth, Jesse. And then things start breaking around the room, including like the entire room itself starts shattering and pulling apart a little bit. And she says, wouldn't it be better if there were no lies? Come with me and you can wash it all clean. Start over. Imagine a world without lies. And Sam says, she's right. We lied to you. And the demon looks at Sam and her eyes go all black and menacing and shit. And Sam says, but I'll tell you the truth. And then she starts crushing Sam's throat now. But he's fighting really hard to still talk. And he says, I just want to tell. And Jesse says, stop it. And Sam drops to the floor. He's immediately released. And Jesse says, I want to hear what he has to say. And she says, you're stronger than I thought. And Sam says, we lied to you. And I'm sorry. So here's the truth. I'm Sam Winchester. That's my brother, Dean. We hunt monsters. And the demon says, except when you are the monster, right, Sammy? And Sam says, and that woman right there, her name is Julia. She's your mother. But the thing inside of her, the thing that you're talking to, it's a demon. And Jesse says, a demon? Demon says, he's done nothing but lie to you since the moment you met him. Don't listen to him. Punish him. Jesse says, sit down and shut up. And she gets like thrust into this chair and then like 5 foot across the room. And you go, whoa. And then she can't talk either. Like he's bound her to just shut up. Sam says there's kind of a war between angels and demons and you're part of it. And Jesse says, I'm just a kid. And he says it in this vulnerable, scared way that makes this really like heart wrenching.
Yeah. And Sam says, I was like, he's actually quite sweet. He's not a creepy kid.
Yeah. Sam says, you can go with her if you want. I can't stop you. No one can. But if you do, millions of people will die. And Jesse says, she said I was half demon. Is that true? And Sam says, yes, but you're half human too. You can do the right thing. You've got choices, Jesse. But if you make the wrong ones, it'll haunt you for the rest of your life. And this is really emotional because, you know, Sam is talking from, like, he obviously identifies with Jesse. Jesse's obviously, like, very much like what Sam went through. And he really doesn't want anything to happen to this kid. And so it's really, it tears at your heart. And Jesse asks why he's telling him this. And Sam says, because I have to believe someone can make the right choice, even if I couldn't. And Jesse thinks about it really hard. And then he clenches his fist at the demon and he says, get out of her. And the chair flies back against the wall. Black smoke pours out of demon dust out of Julia's mouth and vanishes up the chimney. Dean drops to the ground panting. And he says, how did you do that? And Jesse said, I just did. And Dean says, kid, you're awesome.
Yeah. This is where I just wrote, whoa, he's much more powerful than Sam was.
Yeah. I wrote, this is literally Raven's story arc from Teen Titans.
So we cut to a bit later and Jesse asks if Julia is going to be okay. And Dean says eventually. He then asks Jesse to change Cass back, but he's like, he tried to kill me, which, you know, he's got a point.
Fair.
Yeah. Jesse asks what now, and Dean says they will take him somewhere safe and get him trained up. Sam tells him he's really powerful, which makes him, and Jesse interrupts and says, a freak? And I went, oh, look, he's like younger Sam now. And they tell Jesse he can't stay here as the demons now know where he is and more are going to come for him. And he says he doesn't want to go without his parents, but Sam explains how that will put them in danger.
I just thought it was really emotional where Jesse says a freak and then Sam says that him and Dean are freaks too.
Oh, like, yeah, I missed that bit out.
He makes sure to let Jesse know that he's okay with them, and he says that they're freaks themselves. Like they're on the same page, they're the same sort of people, and it was just really cool. Yeah,
that's nice. He asks to go and see his parents so he can say goodbye, and he goes upstairs to his parents' room, who are asleep. Then he goes to his room and lays on his bed and looks at his wall, which looks like the Australian tourist board threw up all over it. There's just loads of pictures of like surfing in Australia and
So I noticed that they were basically all pictures of the ocean. It's the only piece of Antichrist lore drop that I'm really going to do here is that one of the things that they call the Antichrist is the beast from the sea. So when he runs away to Australia and all we see is the ocean, it's supposed to be like a nod to that.
That is cool.
Also, because he has such surreal powers and he whisks himself off to Australia and has turned Cass into a doll, I thought I would see if I could find surreal history, like stuff that seems like it's from this episode but was real. So I found a couple of things. And I'm going to tell you 7 of the most real historical facts that are wild. So the first one is the dancing plague that I think I've talked about on the podcast before. It happened in 1518.
I've definitely heard of this. That's really interesting.
In Strasbourg, people danced for days without stopping, with many collapsing from exhaustion, and it spread as well. I find it really fascinating. From 1997 to 2017, an orange tabby cat served as the honorary mayor of Talkeetna, Alaska for 2 decades.
Ah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's so cute. In 1932, there was a war, which was called the Great Emu War, because Australia officially deployed military personnel armed with machine guns to combat a plague of emus, and the birds won. No. The birds won.
Good.
There's also a little bit more, because there's this thing called Coromania, where St. Vitus's dance, which is like what the dancing plague was, and it didn't only happen in that one city. It happened like throughout medieval Europe, which is what I find really fascinating, which is just massive crowds randomly starting to suffer from uncontrollable dancing. And it spreads or stops at complete random. So I was like, that's wild that it's not just one event. It's like multiple events throughout medieval Europe. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Then there is the Tanganyika laughter epidemic of 1962, which is a laughing fit that began at a girls' boarding school, spreading to over 1,000 people and lasting 18 months, causing school closures.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That sounds horrible. I hate, when you get the like really uncontrollable laughter and you just can't stop. After a while, it really hurts.
Yeah, it really, really does. Like, that's crazy. And so, just like with Coromania, the laughing epidemics are also real. And I don't think this is the only incident of it. So, again, that's like really weird and unusual. Then the next one that I have for you is that Genghis Khan, or as a lot of people know him, Genghis Khan, is the daddy of roughly every 1 in 200 men alive today. Whoa. He has like 16 million descendants. And I read that fact and I was like, what about the girls? Because he definitely had daughters. Yeah. I know this for a fact because I'm a nerd and some of his daughters were amazing badasses. So I'm like, what about that? Why have we only gone with the boys? That they're probably tracing like Y DNA, like male DNA signatures, but like I want to know about the mtDNA as well. Like give me more information. Then we have Vesna Volvic, who was a Serbian flight attendant who survived the highest fall without a parachute, which was 10,160 meters, which is 33,330 feet, or 6.31 miles. So I know that like 33,000 feet is like the cruising altitude of a plane. That's fucking high.
Yeah. How did she survive that?
She was the only survivor of JAT Flight 367 after an explosion wrecked the plane. They think it was some kind of action of like a terrorist or something because it was a suitcase bomb. And I don't think they ever made an arrest or figured out exactly who did it. But she was completely fine. Like she made an almost full recovery.
How?
I don't know. Like, I don't know how that works. Like, I don't understand how you fall 33,000 feet and then survive.
I mean, we're just like a big bag of water, really, when you think about it. And that would, if you dropped a big bag of water, that would splatter. Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. Because, like, people talk about, like, that guy who climbs skyscrapers and mountains and stuff and does all the free climbing says that you're just as dead from a fall of, like, 20 feet as you are from, like, 100 feet or whatever. And that's 33,330 feet. That's y'all, that's a lot of feet. That's high. She basically came away. She ended up in a coma when they found her. She stayed in the coma for a bit of time. She had skull fractures and like fractures over loads of her body, but she basically made a full recovery and she just ended up walking with a limp. And she became a social activist and just like was fine. She had no memory of the accident. Tried to go back to work, but the company that she worked for, because she'd become like a national hero for surviving this, did not want the press of her that like on a plane again. So they put her on a desk job.
That's crazy. That's like she must have had a guardian angel or something that like
for
broke her fall a bit to make sure that there wasn't as much impact like that, because there's no way.
It just makes no sense. Like physically, it makes no sense.
Yeah, I reckon there was something supernatural going on there.
Yeah, it's fun. So I thought it was very appropriate for this episode, and those are my fun facts for my little Easter egg for this episode.
Cool. That was fun.
Cute.
So downstairs, Dean tells Sam that Jesse's been up there for a really long time. They rush upstairs to find an empty bedroom, and then Cass appears behind them and says he's gone. So the things that he thought must have just instantly gone away because he's now not a figurine, obviously. They ask where, but Cass says he doesn't know. But he put everyone in town back to normal, and then he vanished. Sam then finds a note on Jesse's bed. Was this note to his parents or to Sam and Dean? It must have been to his parents, right? That he left behind.
I thought it was supposed to be for his parents, but then I thought it said Sam and Dean on the top of it, so I do not know.
Maybe
I'm not
both.
sure.
It says Sam finds the note on Jesse's bed. Dean asks what it says, and Sam says that he had to leave to keep his parents safe, that he loves them, and he's sorry. And then Dean says, how do we find him? And Cass says, with the boy's powers, we can't, not unless he wants to be found. And then we have just one more scene.
So we cut to the Impala at night outside. The Impala drives past, and then we cut to the interior of the Impala, and Dean's saying, you think Jesse's going to be okay? And Sam takes a deep breath, and he says, I hope so. And Dean says, we destroyed that kid's life by telling him the truth. And Sam says, we didn't have a choice, Dean. And Dean says, yeah, I'm starting to get why parents lie to their kids. You want them to believe that the worst thing out there is mixing pop rocks and coke. Protect them from the real evil. You want them to go to bed feeling safe. If that means lying to them, so be it. The more I think about it, the more I wish Dad had lied to us. And Sam says, yeah, me too. And then they both look sad.
Yeah. And that's it.
Yeah. That was it.
This is where my notes I wrote. I'm guessing we'll see Jesse again at some point. But will he be good or will he be evil? But we don't see him ever again.
We don't. I just wrote, Jesse has my whole heart. He went to Australia. And then I was like, the more I think about it, the more I wish Dad had lied to us. Yeah, me too. And I just put the emoji, like the sad face, teary-eyed emoji there.
Yeah.
And that was the last thing that I wrote in my notes.
They're just being sad boys again.
With good reason.
Yeah. They're always sad boys. Yeah, I don't have anything else. Do you want to do games? Villain hot or not? But who is the villain? Julia?
I
demon
think
inside
Julia is
Julia.
the villain, the demon mom. I just put demon mom, and I just wrote that she's like not my type.
Oh, I suppose Cass is also a villain because he tried to kill him.
But he gets turned into a toy. Like, I don't know how seriously I can take his villainy when he's like absolutely ineffective.
He did literally get a big knife out and was about to stab him. So I reckon he's a hot villain.
Fine. Yeah, he's a hot villain
then. Episode scare rating.
I gave it a 4.
I gave it a 6.5, but I don't know why. Yeah, sorry.
I mean, the threat to Jesse is scary. Like, the bits at the end are scary.
Yeah.
When, he's getting like really threatened. There's like emotional tension for sure. I think overall I focused more on the first half of that episode when I was rating the scare rating than the second half. And I was like, it's a 4. There's some gore, but it's kind of almost comical because it's supposed to be so unbelievable as to be funny. And we don't really get like a ton of like super scary stuff. The only really scary part is the demon fight towards the end and like Jesse's potential to just snap people out of existence if he wants to.
Yeah. I think I must have been thinking about the last half because I gave it a 6.5. But I don't really remember why.
I mean, if I was going to grade it on the end of the episode, that's what I probably would have said. So I get it.
Favorite quotes?
Hit it, Mr. Wizard. And then like there's that part where Sam is like, are you seriously going to eat all of this? And Dean just is like slamming back ham sandwiches. That was so funny. Those are probably my favorites.
All right. When Sam says, you can go blind from that too. Or when Dean said, what's up with Toothless? And then the whole bit, just the bit where Cass sits down on the whoopee cushion and is just deadpan. That wasn't me.
Yeah, that was really funny.
Thirst traps?
I didn't really have any thirst traps this episode.
I just had the two that I mentioned. Sorry.
Yeah, it was so comedy the whole time. I was too busy laughing at them. I was not thirst trapped at all.
I just had the two I mentioned at the time, and it was Sam when Julia throws salt at them, and Sam and Cass's argument and the stare off. Who's your MVP?
Sam. Because he talks the kid into not destroying the world and being evil, basically. Because Dean tried really hard, and he was doing a really good job, but then there was demon interference. And I reckon without that, I would have said Dean. But then Sam really saves the day by like having a heart-to-heart with the kid.
Yeah. Okay. I wrote Jesse because I was just thinking about him defeating the demon, I guess, that part.
Yeah.
Because he saves Sam and Dean, technically.
He does, actually, yeah. So, I mean, you could definitely say that he's the MVP.
Mm. And then motel rating, I didn't have anything because I didn't notice it, but you said it doesn't sound like it would be my kind of motel.
No, I wrote 3.5, lots of flags and distress.
Flags and distress.
Yeah.
Excellent. So, that's that one.
That's the end of that episode.
Mm-hmm.
Should we say goodbye?
Thank you for listening.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in. If you like this episode, please rate, review, and subscribe. We would be very grateful. And if you know someone who would enjoy it, please share.
You can find us on Instagram at the Witches of Letters podcast, or you can email us at thewitchesofletters@gmail.com.
Until next time, stay safe out there, have each other's backs, and always keep fighting.